Imagine walking into a place filled with dreams, goals, and opportunities. You have spent years preparing for this moment. Your heart beats loudly, but it also beats with confidence. You know who you are. You know your worth. But the moment you cross the door, they don't see you as a promise. They don't see you as a future leader. They see you as a threat. They judge you by your clothes, by your hair, by the color of your skin. They reduce you to a stereotype before they even hear your name. And as you breathe, as you stand tall, they laugh, they humiliate you, they try to make you feel small. What they don't know is that they are about to make the biggest mistake of their careers, because today they won't just learn your name. Today they will learn a lesson they will never forget. Stay until the end, because this is not just the story of a young woman humiliated at a police station. This is the story of how, with dignity and truth, a wound can be transformed into power. And if you have ever been underestimated, you will see yourself reflected in this story. Have you ever been judged before someone even knew you? Have you ever felt like you had to prove your worth just because of how you looked? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear your story. And if you believe we deserve more stories of justice like this, subscribe now and stand with us in every fight. It was just an ordinary Wednesday. The city pulsed with its usual frantic rhythm, and at the district police station, everything seemed to be running its normal course. Officers walked back and forth, filing documents, making calls. A constant buzz of activity filled the air. No one could have imagined that, within minutes, something seemingly small would expose a deep wound that still festers in our society. At 10:45 a.m., a young woman stepped through the entrance. She wasn't wearing a uniform, an expensive suit, or flashy jewelry. She didn't need any of that to stand out. Her mere presence drew stares. Her name was Amara Lewis, 22 years old, a top graduate in criminal law, a brilliant mind with a clear dream to change the system from within. That morning, her goal was simple: attend an interview with the chief of police. But to the prejudiced eyes that watched her, she wasn't a candidate, she was an anomaly. A presence that didn't fit into the mental mold of those who believed they had the right to decide who deserves respect. Amara walked toward the waiting area, clutching her folder to her chest like an invisible shield. Every step she took seemed to amplify the murmurs around her. She could feel the stares scanning her simple clothing, her natural hair, her brown skin. Eyes that didn't ask who she was, but instead silently declared who she couldn't be. A middle-aged officer, tall, dressed in a perfectly pressed uniform, his face hardened by years of unquestioned authority, planted himself in front of her. There was no courtesy, no professionalism, only a quick, brutal judgment wrapped in a question dripping with venom. "What are you doing here? Are you here to visit someone who's been arrested?" The blow landed hard, unexpected, like a slap without hands. Amara blinked, swallowing the humiliation that threatened to burn her cheeks. She took a deep breath, held her head high, and responded with the calm of someone who knows exactly who they are. "I have an interview with the chief of police." It could have ended there. A simple clarification followed by a polite nod, but instead of respect, she received mockery. The officer let out a short, disdainful laugh and looked her up and down, as if she were something that didn't belong there, as if her mere existence in that space was an offense. "You? An interview? Sure?" He sneered. He crossed his arms and turned toward his colleagues, looking for their complicity. He didn't need words to make them laugh. Just a gesture, a slight raise of his eyebrows, a twisted smile. And like a spark in dry powder, laughter erupted around her. Amara felt how every burst of laughter was a stone thrown against her dignity. Every mocking glance, a crack in the facade of neutrality that the station was supposed to represent. It wasn't just an attack on her as a person. It was an attack on everything she stood for: youth, intelligence, change. and yes, her race. But she didn't lower her gaze. She didn't back down. She didn't beg, because she knew something they had yet to learn. Her worth didn't depend on their eyes. And what was about to happen would change their perspective forever. What would you have done in her place? Would you have walked away, or stood your ground like Amara? Leave your answer in the comments. Your voice matters here. And if you haven't yet, subscribe so we can keep telling stories that deserve to be heard. Amara clenched her teeth. The heat of humiliation climbed up her neck, but she didn't let it show on her face. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't lash out in anger, even though every cell in her body begged her to. Instead, she acted with the same calm she had perfected over years of facing judgmental stares and words laced with hidden venom. She pulled out her folder. Her hands trembled slightly, but her will was as strong as steel. She opened the folder carefully. Inside, an official letter, her formal invitation, signed and sealed by the Chief of Police himself. Irrefutable proof that she wasn't there by mistake nor by charity. She was there because she was the best. But when she showed it to the officer, hoping for even a flicker of recognition or respect, he didn't even look at it. With a sneer full of condescension, he said, "Sit and wait, if anyone really wants to see you." And he walked away, chuckling under his breath, as if he had won some invisible battle. Every laugh that echoed behind her was like a silent slap. The clock in the waiting room marked time cruelly. Each minute stretched into what felt like centuries. Every glance in the room was a sharpened knife. Every whisper was a silent verdict. You don't belong here. Amara sat down, her back straight, her gaze fixed on an empty spot in front of her. She couldn't show weakness. She couldn't break down. She knew she was about to face the most important moment of her life, and they were already judging her long before she spoke a word. Then suddenly a loud noise shook the room. A door slammed. Conversation stopped instantly. Even breathing seemed to pause. An imposing figure appeared at the entrance, the Chief of Police. His uniform immaculate, his badge shining under the morning sun, he walked with purpose toward the center of the room. His eyes scanned everyone present, until he found Amara. And then, the moment everyone had been waiting for, without even knowing it, arrived. The chief smiled broadly. A real smile, one filled with pride, not mockery. He extended his hand toward her with a gesture that shattered the tense air like a bolt of lightning. "Amara Lewis, right? Welcome. It's an honor to have you here." A murmur of surprise rippled through the room like a silent earthquake. Those who had laughed earlier now dropped their eyes. The very officer who had humiliated her turned pale instantly. His shoulders slumped. He stepped back as if he wished he could disappear into the wall. But there was nowhere to hide. The chief continued, his voice clear and deliberate, making sure everyone heard every word. "You are our top choice for the new youth leadership program, the best among more than 500 candidates." A spontaneous round of applause erupted from the hallway, where other officers, unaware of what had just happened, celebrated the arrival of the future leader. But inside that waiting room, there was only shame. A heavy, suffocating silence crushed those who, just moments ago, had felt so comfortable in their arrogance. Amara stood up. This time, her folder was no longer a shield. It was a trophy. And every step she took toward the Chief of Police was a silent victory march, a powerful answer to all the laughter, to all the stares, to all the prejudice. Without saying a single word, Amara had won. The chief noticed the heavy atmosphere. He could almost feel the tension floating in the air. He saw the averted gazes, the uncomfortable bodies, the tightly shut mouths that didn't dare speak. And most of all, he noticed his officer, a man who, just minutes ago, had been overflowing with arrogance, now unable to even lift his eyes toward Amara. The entire room held its breath. Something was about to happen. They could feel it in their bones. Then the chief stepped forward. He didn't need to raise his voice. He didn't need to slam the table. He didn't need to shout orders. His voice was low, but each word rumbled like thunder in the hearts of everyone listening. Always remember this: the future of this institution is not measured by how we treat the powerful. It's measured by how we treat those we believe are not. An absolute silence fell over the station. Not an awkward silence, not a silence born of fear. It was a silence of realization, the kind of truth that cuts through the soul and leaves a mark that's impossible to erase. The arrogant officer lowered his head as if his uniform suddenly weighed a ton. In his mind, the laughter, the mockery, the looks of disdain from just moments ago now turned back on him like a cruel mirror. There was no need to yell at him, no need to fire him on the spot, because sometimes the greatest punishment isn't losing a job. It's losing respect from your colleagues, from your superiors, and worst of all, from yourself. Shame filled the room like a dense fog, a shame that no quick apology could wipe away, a shame that lingers, that teaches, that transforms. Amara, standing tall, calm, powerful, didn't need to say a word. Her mere presence was the loudest answer, a living proof that greatness doesn't need to shout, it only needs to endure. Amara didn't need to raise her voice. She didn't need to argue. She didn't need to lower herself to the level of those who judged her. Her presence, her work, her dignity said everything, louder than any words ever could. That day, Amara Lewis didn't just earn her position. She achieved something far more powerful. She became a symbol of patience in the face of provocation, of courage in the face of disdain, of that silent truth that doesn't need embellishments to be felt. Because true power doesn't scream, it doesn't beg, it simply exists, unbreakable. So the next time someone underestimates you, the next time they look at you as if you are not enough, the next time they judge you by your appearance and not by your essence, remember Amara. You are not here to ask for permission. You are not here to fit into old, broken molds. You are here to shatter expectations, to overflow every limit, to be the exception, to be the change others still can't even imagine. And if this story sparked something inside you, if you feel a fire you refuse to put out, subscribe, share this video, leave us a comment, and tell us your story. Because every time we raise our voices together, every time we share stories like this, we make the world a little more just, more human, more ours.